And we back, y'all. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Watch Your Mouth Reviews. This is your boy James, where I'm here to give my honest review while trying to watch my mouth. Not gonna happen in this video, but that's all right. Joining me as always is my girl, Mrs. Besh. I'll say what's up to her.
Hello, like the video. Don't be afraid to do it.
Like the video, subscribe, y'all. Subscribe. Come on now, build this up for me here. I'm just having fun with my best friend. That's how I look at it. And I got my other best friends in the chat with me here. So we just doing the thing. Shout out to my girl Jim Bunny who's made it to us already. We ready to get into Family Empire Houston. This show is back after being on a 2.5 week or 3 week hiatus. So it is back, y'all, on our channel. And we don't know what happened, but I'm happy it's back because I wanted to know what would happen with this contract. So let's go ahead and get into the scene. So the scene starts out with Jermisha, Nicole, Jaquita, and her husband. What is her husband's name? I forgot already. Is it Chris? Yeah, Chris. Sorry, y'all. I didn't forgot. Look, all these names. It's too many people on this cast. So I'm trying to keep up with it. So yes. And I was missing them too just a little bit. But Chris told them that he's not going to sign the contract that they provided for him, but he's going to sign his own contract. And he went over his guidelines and terms, saying that, oh, is that what it was? Okay. I mean, I only watched the Olympics for Simone Biles. Other than that, I wasn't really watching it for anything else. So, they could have still put it on for me to recap it. But he pretty much tells them his terms of what he would like to do. And they were actually really surprised that he had a counter offer for them. He still agrees to the same pay because that was an issue based on their requirements. But since he put on his own requirements, they were like, hey, we're not going to increase any pay. So Nicole brings it out and says, why don't we give you a probationary period of 90 days? And he goes, no, how about we do compromise and do a 2 month for 60 days? And she goes, okay. And realistically, Nicole was just proud of him for putting his foot down, proud of him for coming up with terms because it actually made her have to look and work. And they decided to sign the contract. And so we'll see how he handles this going forward. He impressed me a little bit this episode, but we'll see how that goes. So we then move on to Jermisha. She's going to the park with her kids and her husband. And she has the most cutest little girl, and that little boy, the little baby, little newborn is just adorable. I love looking at those kids and at the park.
I actually have something to say before you move on. You didn't comment on for some reason. They had Chris fucked up with his deal. He's getting the same amount of money with the new one, but now he does not have to pay for the equipment or the studios. That means prior to this, he was making the same money and then having to take the income that he made to go and purchase stuff for him to be able to do his job. So for them to be complaining so much about what Chris did, well, even if he was not always on call or the most professional, what do you expect when he's having to take out of his own salary to pay for locations to film you at? Like, no. So now it seems like it made some sense, and I feel like a lot of this was for the camera because they probably could have just easily been like, hey, well, let's draw up a contract and do it this way. But yeah, that bothered me a little bit. They were just like, oh, here's a counter offer, yay. But I'm like, y'all not acknowledging that you did have him a little twisted.
I didn't get that from that conversation. That's why I have you here. This is why I have Mrs. Best here, guys, because I didn't even get that from that conversation. Like, I didn't get, like, that's what he was doing. I thought that's why I didn't talk about, because I thought, okay, they probably allow him to use equipment because he's an independent contractor. That's how I looked at it.
Yes, but you're supposed to be family, and they painted it as if he's doing all the bad things. And I'm like, in some ways, like, if you know that he's only coming to take pictures of you in certain locations, he doesn't have a studio, you're aware of that, like, be more realistic. But I am glad that they finally have a contract, but they'll have issues.
You think so? See, I didn't want to say that because I feel like I don't want them to have issues with that. I don't want them to have any problems. Because you could tell on Jaquita's face.
Chris is emotional and Nicole is a control freak. Okay. So I don't think those two will ever fully be able to blend. They may be okay, like working together through the year, but I feel like whenever it's time for it to like renew or draw up a new contract, there's going to be a problem.
It may be. I wonder. Yeah, we'll see after the 60 days what ends up happening with this. Because you may be right. There may be something that comes down the line that we're gonna be like, "Oh, Chris," but we'll see. But thank you for bringing that up. It's not that I didn't want to talk about it. I understood it differently. So, why does he need to be in the office? And really, you know what? I think that's just for like, because I've had a job where my current job, they want me to be in office 3 days a week just to say that I'm there and using office equipment that they'll later write off. So I think that that's realistically why, because he's an independent contractor. I don't think it matters him being an office or not. So maybe that's just to write it off on, income because they can prove that he's an employee and that he's in the office. That's usually how most of these jobs work. So maybe that's what it is. But yeah, but moving on to Dreamisha, she has her family in the park and she talks to her husband about, the meeting with Chris and how it went and everything. And she's saying that Nicole definitely oversteps a lot. She's been noticing it quite often that she's the broker of the firm. And how real estate, for those who do not know, is the broker is the foundation of the whole firm. And then they house realtors. And a lot of the times with realtors, they pay what they call a desk rent. And a desk rent is just like if you go to a hair salon, they pay for a booth rent. It's the same concept. You house them, you build a brand, but your brand has to be promising at the same time. And then you have to get people who also have strong network as well for it to be successful. So she's the broker, and you only can have one broker in the state of Texas. You only can have one broker that can house realtors. So Nicole is not a broker, but she does co-own the firm, which can also happen as well. It's a very weird setup because I kind of feel like one's entitled to the desk rent, the other one isn't. So I don't know how that's worked out. I would love for them to expand on that. I want someone to ask them, how does that work out as far as who gets, the dividends? Is that just me? Yeah, probably.
Who gets paid?
Well, how it works with a broker is when they house realtors, they can charge a desk rent and that money goes to the broker.
No, I know that part. The part for me that I don't like is, I'm going to just say this. The fact that Dreamisha is the broker means that she is the person who is the heartbeat of everything that they do.
Mm-hmm.
Without her, it would be very difficult for them to function, or they would have to go and seek out a third-party brokerage to assist. That's why sometimes when people buy houses, you may buy a house from your real estate company initially, then you may do your paperwork and all that stuff with a brokerage or another third party. My mom went through that before she bought a house. But yeah, I don't like a lot of what we find out about Nicole. I don't trust the heifer. I knew I couldn't.
We all saw it coming, but yes. But she's telling her husband that, Nicole oversteps and she has to remind people that she's the broker. And her husband was kind of like pumping her up, like, yeah, you tell him who's in charge. Like, you own that firm and you own this. And I was like, whoa, buddy, pump your brakes. Because at the end of the day, yes, we get you trying to cheer your wife on. But at the same time, how is she conductively running this business with Nicole is the problem. I kind of felt like when he was saying that, I felt like Dreamisha, this is my thing. This is how I feel, and this is my opinion. I feel like Dreamisha and Nicole had an agreement that Nicole was going to be the face of everything and that Dreamisha was just going to be behind the background. Because she said it, but it didn't seem like it was like in Cree where Nicole would agree that that's what they were going to do. Because when people look at Braden Real Estate, they only see Nicole as being the face of it, but she's the broker. And I'm just like, well, a lot of brokers aren't really people that are on the front line. Like when you work at a real estate firm,
they're
that's
boring usually. They're like true, like accountants damn near, but except they're handling like all these houses and extensive and confusing contracts and documents and like
right.
Like they're usually in the background. So it's not just Nicole like needing, to be in the forefront, but she's in the background, Dreamisha. Like it's okay.
I feel like for me, if I were to do real estate again, I would do the broker versus real estate because it's not that I'm lazy. I would still go and sell homes, but at the same time, I would want to house other realtors, get education with them, make sure they're, trying to sell and then break into the luxury market that Nicole, because she is right. Breaking into the luxury market, that's where everyone's going on. That's why you see a lot of home renovations. That's why you see a lot of people, remodeling older homes and flipping them and everything, because you want to be a part of that. And as I said, I would definitely have me and Nicole on board, but I would make sure that there's clear guidelines. Hey, I am the broker of the real estate firm. I need to make sure that you're aware. If I'm hosting something or if I'm having something, I need people to go to me too. But I feel like, once again, Jamisha, if it's working and Nicole is bringing, the market, I wouldn't complain. So I don't understand what Jermisha's gripe is. And when her husband was cheering her on, I was like, okay, but at the same time, she's doing what most brokers do. Like, she's in the background, she's doing the admin work, she's making sure that people are paying, or however they have it worked out. I've never heard of them paying real estate agents personally. I've heard that, the real estate agent pays the broker for reading the space out. So I don't know how they have it conducted there.
We get a percentage, I believe, but they don't, the broker is not like paying them often. They can, like the company, but not the broker themselves individually. They're really just the person doing the paperwork. Like, that's quite literally what they're doing. But what I will say is, maybe because Jermisha is on television, she kind of wants to be in the spotlight more or something, but we all see that she's the heartbeat of this company. So, I do want to acknowledge that in case she comes across my friend's channel. I feel like her husband is the problem. James, your face.
Because I'm ready for it, and I'm allowed. So I'm trying to,
I've been trying to better myself, y'all. I've been trying to behave on YouTube instead of just coming on here crazy. But I really do believe that her husband is a part of the problem. I do think he loves her. I think she loves him. But I think when it comes to like how household is ran, like essentially he's working for her. That's one. And I feel like it's based on little comments he makes. And if you notice and look in past episodes, when the men had met up, he was very quick to discuss the issue with the women and side with his wife. Like, I don't know. He comes across as like something about Jamisha's husband bothers me. I can't remember his name either, so I apologize. I just know him as the light-skinned fellow. But
is it Justin? I think
yes,
Justin.
yes, it is. Yes, it is Justin. But I feel like he probably at night like tells her and tries to hype her up, because the more exposure she gets for his music, that could be a good thing. I could be reaching, but something about him is just off. But I definitely get from him that he's not the type of husband that's going to like tell you things that's going to prevent you from questioning your family. I feel like he will confirm your suspicion, confirm your anxiety, confirm your concern. And that's not always a good thing. And I just feel like he's messy. So that's what I'll say with his ass. I don't trust him. Hi, Shayna.
Hi, Shayna. Thank you for joining us, love. We appreciate you. So moving on from there, sorry, I'm skating through these scenes because it's really, I want to get to the nitty-gritty part of what I want to talk about. And y'all probably already know this if y'all watch my other recaps. But I'm moving on. Nicole and her husband, got his name too. I can never remember these men's names because they're not memorable. But they are talking about the adoption. They would like to adopt a child. They only have the one child. From Nicole's history of conceiving, it was pretty hard. And when they were considering in vitro, she actually ended up getting pregnant. So they didn't really need to do that. So they have a lawyer and then one of the foster care representatives who particularly works with adoption with Black and brown babies, particularly because they don't really get adopted as much as other nationality babies do. So she's working to make sure that, these babies do get adopted as well. And when I tell you, I was looking at Nicole and I'm like, I'm trying to picture her with a newborn. I just can't see it. I'm sorry. So when they said that they would like to do older because their daughter is 7, I was like, oh, thank God. Because I'm like, I just can't picture her with no baby. I just can't. Like, and I know that's kind of mean to say because she is a mother and we see that she has a kid, but like, I just can't picture it. I just can't. But they begin getting information about, how the process works. And, long story short, they pretty much tell them, the lawyer's like, look, we try to make sure that the rights are, foregone when it comes to the parents and that you have. That way they can't come back and say, I want my baby back. But please understand that this is, once you do this, there's no turning around. So if y'all choose not to work out and y'all get a divorce, one of y'all will have to have custody of the baby, just like you would if it was your own child. So I was like, thank you for bringing that up, because a lot of people don't get that information when it comes to adoption. Like it sounds beautiful. And some people, do take it with, yeah, this is my child and everything. But a lot of people get so caught up in the idea that they miss, like, okay, well, here's the worst case scenario. If this happens between you, y'all can't undo this. So I actually appreciated it. Mrs. Best, was there anything you wanted to add in this scene?
Nicole want to adopt that baby. Or child, whatever, child, baby, what, same thing. But I didn't get the energy from her husband that he's not open to adoption, but I don't feel like he currently is open to it. Separate from that, I have concerns about that. Yes, you could love your child and stuff, but it sounds like y'all barely have time for each other and family time and all these different things. He's missing constant events. I also feel like they have things they need to work on in their marriage. So I feel like they should hold off on adopting a child, but I do appreciate the information.
I did too, and I agree with you. It did seem like he was a little bit more hesitant. Nicole's all in. And I think what you said is the reason why I can't see her with a baby, like a newborn or like a toddler, is because she's so busy. We see her being all on business. And I know if she were to get a baby that young, that it would have to be a situation where she would need to slow down. And I don't think she's ready for that. I think that she is kind of like all into her career. So I'm hoping that if they do decide to go forward and they go all in, that they really do work on their issues, but also make sure that one, she is also a full-time mom and also there, and make sure that he's there as well. Because I'm hoping it's not a situation where they just get nothing wrong with a nanny, y'all. Trust me, once I adopt, I'm making sure I have enough money for a nanny because I know I can't do it by myself. But I just want people who have time for kids to have children, like people who are not always in their careers and stuff. Because I always feel like the kids miss out on something when parents are always that busy. And it could just be me, and this is my opinion, y'all. I'm not just saying that this is everyone's story, but I always feel like when parents are that busy, they miss a lot of moments with children.
Every rich kid with a busy, busy parent. My parents had to put me in private school because the neighborhood I was in was trash. But all them rich kids there have busy parents, and they all used to say they're lonely. They just wish they had time with their parents, like little stuff like that. So that is very true.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was pretty much it. We appreciate that scene. The next thing we have is Jermisha taking Aunt Charlotte to, her knee surgery or maybe doctor's appointment. It was we know that she has that knee surgery, but we don't know if this was the actual appointment. So Aunt Cheryl is there as well, and they get, in the car and they begin talking, and Jermisha gets, right to the point. She wants to talk about the land. And, she pretty much tells them her idea of the land and what she would like to do with it. But remember, the aunts are kind of like, you going out of order. You going out of order. G1 generation, and then the G1, and then the G2s. So we're looking at our inheritance, not, you trying to do whatever you want with this land. And I'm like, that's just like our people. That is just like our people. They can't see the bigger picture because they're worried about some order. And I'm just like, see, this is you talking to a brick wall, Jamisha. They ain't even hearing it. What they would hear is if each one of them got $1 million out of the situation. That's what they would hear. But they're not hearing you because you going out of order. And Jamisha tells them, like, look, I get y'all plans because y'all want a payday from this. And I totally get it. And they said, whoa, 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 whoa. Watch your tone. That's disrespectful. And Jamisha heard and apologized because she realized, that is her aunt. That ain't Aunt Nikki sitting in that seat. That's the older aunts. That ain't the one you was raised with. That's the other ones that were actually grown when you were alive. So she had a moment, but she retracted herself back. But honestly, and I think that's the thing about the older generation, they're too worried about order versus long time wealth. And I think because it will take a long time for them to really profit off that land after they paid off, the contractors and the, surveyors and everybody else, and actually, the project itself. It is going to take some time for them to actually see real profit. And I think that that's what they're looking at if this really is going to work. So, Mrs. Best, how did you feel about Jermisha and the Carter aunts and that scene?
She was right the first time they want a payday. Listen, their parents, Oscarine and her passed on husband, were working hard very young before they even had kids and buying properties. They explain their own story to everybody. So it's very strange that the kids who grew up pretty well, especially during that time, have not find ways of their own to, have substantial income or go into real estate themselves. All the kids that they have, they just wanted to reap the benefits of what their parents had, the G1s. I do think that, and it does show. Like, I guarantee you, if they was in the G2's position and it meant they could get the money, same age and all, even if it was out of order and there's a generation before them, they will want it and find a way to make it work. They want the payday. And they want the payday because they get mad and call her disrespectful every time she say that. And I hate older people who do this. Ain't nobody disrespectful for telling you the truth. As long as you don't say it in a rude manner or anything like that, then what is the problem? But she's presented you with a plan. Like they say, the land is only appraising for $800,000. They'll probably sell it for $1, maybe $2 million if they get a very, very good offer. Splitting that between how many fucking siblings? They're not going to get that much money if they just sell it. They're just not. And they've probably had money before from Miss Oscarine, from what Jermisha hints towards. And what they got to show for it now?
I'm just saying for me, yes. Because to me, Jermisha is making all the sense in the world about how important land is. And let's not act like the plan isn't when Miss Oscarine sells that land, that she's not paying off all your mortgages. That was already put out there. And I'm sure all of y'all know it. So I'm just saying, like, I don't know. For me, I agree with you. I just felt like I hate when the older generation does this as well. It's like, well, why are we not calling a thing a thing? It's a thing. We're gonna call it a. Yeah, it's just poor Jermisha. Maybe if Nicole did it, maybe they would have been on board. I don't know. Who knows? We'll see. We're gonna get to it, y'all, but we'll see. But after that happens, we then have Nicole and Lakeisha meeting up for their therapy session. Hold on. The G1s don't seem too business savvy. They're not. They're not. They're average, middle class, working 9 to 5 children. And I think for me, looking at this show, it seems like Miss Oscarine wanted different for the grandchildren because there's a lot more change. Like younger people are becoming entrepreneurs, and a lot of them are doing it through social media and doing it through opportunities like this one being a TV show, reality TV show. So she's seeing the bigger picture with her grandchildren, which is why she invested into them. I don't think the children had, that same kind of ambition. So that's why, they all work regular jobs. You got one who work at the post office. You have another one working at the school district. You have another one who is retired. So it's like, yeah, they lived middle class lives but had rich parents. But the parents were only going to give them the satisfaction of a payday if it meant they were going to do something with it. That's how I look at it. I could be wrong, and I don't really care one way or the other. But
you're probably right. You're probably right. Them G1s is spoiled as hell. Look at what their children have compared to what they claim to have had at that same time in life. So Oscarine probably is harder on the G2s, and it looked like it paid off because her kids are spoiled. One of them having multiple girlfriends and children that he ain't there for. The other ones marrying men that can't help to pay the mortgage, even with parents that'll help give you cash. Then, like Jim Bunny said, they all work for their mama or nieces. Ain't nobody ever held a real job. Like, they don't know what the hell they doing. They just want the money. And Jermisha knows it. Why would you not listen to the person who handles money in your family about an investment?
No, why aren't you listening to the one who's made it? That's my thing. I could see if Jermisha just opened this business yesterday and is talking about this, then yeah, you need to see portfolios and work. But they've had this real estate brokerage for 5 years. So to me, that's making it. If it's still open, let me tell you something. A real estate brokerage can be open 1 month and close the next. I've seen it happen. It is very hard to be successful in that business. So especially if you don't know anybody and you're networking first time, which is why they don't encourage brokers to start out first time into real estate. They would like you to do the real estate thing first, partner with somebody, and then branch out. But a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people feel like they have the network and connections to branch out right out of real estate school. And I'm like, okay. So, hey, if you can do it, then do it. But that's just crazy to me that the niece that is successful has her own brokerage firm and has potential and sees the bigger picture for the land. I don't know why they don't listen to her either, but it's just that old generation syndrome where they don't feel like someone younger than them knows more than they know. It's always been like that. We've always seen that with the older generation. You can't tell me nothing about life. I've been here longer than you. Haven't we all heard that before? We know we have. So therefore, good luck, Jermisha, because these two aunties, your mama might be the best picture for you, and maybe get Aunt Nikki to kind of convince Granny to do this, because these two looking for their payout, and if they're entitled to it, fine. But moving on from there, Lakeisha and Nicole meet up for their therapy session, and what we learn, which they did not make it seem like when this show started, is that we learned that Bubba, their father, was actually in relations with both women at the same time, but neither one of them were married to him. So he settled for Nicole and Monet's mom. And Lakeisha grew up thinking that her brother's father was her father. She didn't know until she was 7 when her aunt Jackie came to get her that she had a whole set of family. And that's how the relationship started. So when they said it like that, I was like, oh, Nicole, because Nicole started the conversation saying, you know, I'm born in January, Keisha is born in May, and growing up, it was always this outside baby situation. But Lakeisha's right. She's not an outside baby. Your father got 2 women pregnant at the same time, and he just chose to marry one. That's not the same thing as him being married and then going and get Lakeisha's mama and then getting her pregnant. That's not the same thing. So I was proud that Lakeisha actually cleared it up, because now I'm looking at Nicole side-eyed again. And I knew it was something, but I couldn't put my hand on it. But now that I know what it is, I'm like, oh, okay. I see what this is. Y'all had a narrative based on your mama's feelings. And I said this in the beginning. Y'all had a narrative based on your mama's feelings. And now that that is not true, y'all are still holding hostage to that same situation. That's crazy to me. Mrs. Best, how did you feel like before we move on to deeper in the session?
It's clear that Keisha knows more than she's letting on, even though I feel like she knows everything through her mama, because kids listen and hear their parents.
Mm-hmm.
She is not saying that because her mama, as quiet as it's kept, raised her right, in my opinion. She is not saying all that she could say. She is still trying to have respect for this woman. Mm-hmm. Woman being Nicole's mom, Nicole and Monet's mom. She is still trying to have respect for this woman who has done everything she could to make Keisha feel like an outsider. And you should not do that, because it's not that child's fault that she was born. It's not her fault. It's just not. These older people, let me tell y'all, got everything to say about what younger people do and act like they don't know best. But why was y'all in a relationship with the same man around the same time? I want to know what really happened. And I feel like, based on what really, there's a reason Nicole and Monet's mom is still so upset. I have a feeling that when James says Bubba settled, that is the truth. I just get the energy that Lakeisha's mama found out about Nicole's mom and was probably done with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then
absolutely, that's how I feel too.
Because why else would that lady be so butthurt? Like 40 years later, like
right. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense. You weren't married to the man.
Still have the man.
Yeah, and you still married to him. So it's like, well, you still married the man at the end of the day. So it can't be that much. And it wasn't like he cheated, because that was the perception. The perception that they put out season 1, or the first episode when we got introduced to Keisha, is that was their half sister. It made it seem like your dad stepped out on your mom. But no, he was entertaining 2 women and just settled for one and not the other, because probably the other one had common sense and knew he wasn't shit and moved on and got her a whole nother man. That's what I got out of this scene, to make a long story short. So, and yep, and I saw that too. I saw that preview. because the therapist did ask her, well, how's your relationship like with their mother? And she goes, well, it's fine. We don't have any bad vitriol. She's been nice to me and everything. So, looks like next episode that's about to change. But it's like, I feel like Nicole is putting the stripe that she doesn't have a close relationship with Keisha on Keisha. I feel like she's making it Keisha's fault to why they don't have a relationship. When I feel like you don't even know why you mad at your sister. And it's not that hard to figure out. It really is. Like, this situation is not hard to figure out. All you have to admit, and you don't have to say that you knew that this was a situation. All you had to do was say, I chose my mother's feelings in the situation versus getting to know my
Can
sister.
I give my professional opinion?
Sure, absolutely.
I feel like a part of what she's doing is because her sister Monet, they had the same dad, all those things. Her mom is there. She obviously has issues with how much the father was there because she's spoken about it. And then in addition to your father not being there too much, now he got another kid who's born at the same time as you, but your sister gets to have the same parents and not be a part of this mess. For me, I feel like a piece of it is, yes, Nicole's mom is negative and probably, put something in their head. But I also feel like the other piece of it is going to therapy and hearing the things that Lakeisha has to say is going to confirm that her mom is just as much in the wrong, which could potentially make her have some anger and resentment towards her mom for allowing her to be in a space where she didn't bond with her sister. So I don't know. I think Nicole has a lot of emotions going on that she probably needs to like really, really, really work through. But I also agree with Jim Bunny. They need to get in a session with their dad. But at the same time, the dad do act like he's slow. And at one time, he either was real close to the pipe or the bottle. If you get my gist.
Yeah, we got you.
That.
We got your gist. We definitely got it. But Lakeisha pretty much tells her story. She says that, her Aunt Jackie came and got her and made her, get to know her siblings, her cousins. So she felt like she then felt connected to the family. It's just that with Nicole, there is this bit of a wall up. And Nicole says the same thing. There's a wall up with me as well. And I said, Nicole, I feel like your wall was up before her wall was up. I do. And I can't, no one's going to tell me different. I feel like Nicole had a wall up. And once again, it's because she chose her mother's feelings. Yeah, that's your sister, but don't be so close to her. Don't be so, I feel like that's really what happened. I do. And I could be wrong, and I don't really care. It's just my opinion. But we see these situations all the time. We see situations where when, there's other children involved, if the woman is not secure with herself and her husband, she then takes out her frustrations on the kids that are not in the home. Like, she takes them out like, oh my gosh, well, your other sister is coming or your other sibling will be here. And I can't believe, your dad's doing it. It's like, you see it. And it's such a sad thing because if you chose to forgive the man and you married him after the fact you knew he was having this other baby, then, you should be ready to be the second parent. That's just how I feel. And I could be wrong. And I don't really care who sees it differently. I feel like if you forgave a man and you took him back, then you should be ready to forgive whatever comes with him. Sorry. If anyone feels differently, that's on you. But I feel like if I was in a situation, my husband had a child and I chose to stay with him, that child is now my child. That's how I look at it. So I don't know. But y'all have these situations. I say that older generation is something else. I swear. I feel like something was in the water or they missing a chromosome because it's not making sense no matter how you put it. And then it funnels along to the child. Now that they start thinking like that, it's just crazy. But they leave the therapy session on a good note. They, will continue to work on their relationship, which I'm happy because with Lakeisha's mother being gone, she definitely does need a better relationship with her sisters and need to, have that bond and that support. And I'm hoping Nicole sticks to her word and agrees to work on the relationship because it seems like with Monet, she doesn't have a problem at all. So we are happy for that. But Nicole, you need to work on that too. So I can't wait to see next week's episode because I want to see what happens with that mama in that situation. I do. I can't wait, y'all. So we then get to the final scene where they are having this rodeo pre-party because rodeo is huge in Houston. It's actually huge all over Texas. There's always a rodeo going on. And I love that season. I love rodeo. So I would have had a blast at this. And, the ladies are all in their outfits. They're talking, taking pictures. They realize Keisha isn't there yet. So they're like, we don't want to take a picture without Keisha, but they take the picture anyway. And so when Keisha arrives with Caramel, Nikki walks up to her automatically. And I said, look at this. Look at this manipulation, y'all. Hey, Keisha. And just grabs both her hands. Hey, Keisha, I was thinking about you. And, I just don't want you to be mad at me because, I'm your auntie and I love you. And, all of that. Didn't say, Keisha, I'm sorry for causing all this drama. Didn't tell Keisha, I'm sorry for whatever the rift was between you and Caramel because I don't want to come between that. Keisha, I'm sorry for even bringing up the ex and that whole situation in public. Keisha, I'm sorry. I was just looking at Aunt Nikki. I'm like, y'all, I can't stand Aunt Nikki because she's so messy. And this is what that generation does. And I told you, just like I said in my last, recap, Aunt Nikki just doesn't know her place. She's too young to be with her siblings and then too old to be with her nieces. So she doesn't have a place. So it's easy for her to maneuver and be messy. And she was messy this entire last scene. It wasn't just this situation. She was messy with another scene as well. So we're going to go ahead and get to it. Mrs. Best, I need your opinion. What did you say when Nikki was all up on Lakeisha like that?
Run. Do not look back. Do not stop at stop signs, red lights. Run. You dealing with a broad who don't know if she want to drop it hot like she's a city girl or Megan Thee Stallion, or put on Al Green and get to church. Right.
Right.
Because Jim Bunny said it. Messy. Lakeisha, you can just tell she was raised differently. And I mean that in a positive way. I truly do. She has sense. And she still looked at her. That's okay, Auntie. And gave her a hug. Y'all, I'm so serious. It's confused. Am I wrong?
No, and we're saying that she is confused.
She's crazy. That lady.
And you could tell she was allowed to get away with a lot.
Yes.
Because as I'm saying, she probably, and I've said this before, she was raised, you could tell that there's not much age difference between her and Jermisha. There's not. I probably say there's maybe, I'm going to give her 5 years on top of whatever Jermisha's age is. She's 5 years older. Because you could tell she acts like that generation where she wants to be, like you said, wants to be young and hot, but she knows that she's their aunt and she's in the other generation, but they don't really respect her because there's probably a 20-year age gap between her and the last sibling. So, yes, it's just, she does give Tamar vibe. She do. She messy and she's spoiled and she knew she was wrong. And instead of her saying that, it was like, what was wrong with you just saying you were wrong? What was wrong with that? Instead of you trying to kiss up to her and say, I'm your, because she started with, I'm your auntie and I would do, and it was soon as an adult, as soon as one of your family members say, I'm your auntie, or I'm your lady, or I'm your cousin, that's the manipulation.
Right.
Because whatever come out your mouth next, I'm supposed to forgive it, right? Yes. So that's exactly what that was. And I'm just like, it is what it is. So Chris was working, he's getting, his photography on with the ladies. They're all walking in formation. It was cute. And, he pulls Nicole to the side and everything. And I forgot the conversation because I want to get to Nikki and this messiness that she caused in the room when ain't sharp. But they step aside and she was like, I don't know. I thought I might have to fire you because, you're starting to fall into my old ways. He goes, I don't get fired. And she looked at him like, what's going on here? Like, what you talking about? You don't get fired. I can fire if you want to. And I'm looking at Nicole like, girl, you just want to start something with that man just to start something. Their rapport is weird. Am I the only one that's catching that?
No, it's okay. So here's what it is. They like go back and forth. You could tell their relationship is like based on like talking shit to each other, which fine. I can get that. Like, but like I'm gonna just say it and y'all could jump down my throat because I really won't give a fuck. It's almost like that weird, like when you talk mess to your partner, but you're flirting type energy, or maybe that's just me and Mr. Best because we toxic and we need the Lord. But it's like almost, it's weird. Like she's rude, but then at the same time, it's almost like you can tell like she likes him a lot. Like I don't think she dislikes him as a person at all, but she won't stop talking shit to him.
Yeah, it was like, okay, well, first of all, man, this is your cousin's husband. This is not one of your friends. So I need you to I need there to be some boundaries because their dynamic is giving frenemy, but it's giving frenemy in an inappropriate way. It's not giving frenemy like, hey, cuz we just gonna be messy with each other. It's not like the regular jabs. It's like, she's trying to dig to the white meat. It's like, okay, well, wait. He's doing his job. He brought the camera to a family event. This ain't even work for y'all. Y'all just made it about work. So I'm just like, Nicole, stop. So let's get to the messy part of this episode because this was messy and I ain't never seen messy. So Nicole goes and checks on Aunt Charlotte, who's inside because she just had her knee surgery. So she decided to come to the event, but she sat in the house and, she was checking on her. And Granny walks in as well. But before Granny walks in, Nicole was telling Aunt Charlotte, I have a great idea. How about we, survey the land where we take half of it and build the properties and take the other half. And I don't know if she wants to do like a wholesale on the land where it's like half bought out and then half, structured. I forgot how the deal works, but it's like building just half of the homes that Jermisha had planned to build. Basically, was the idea. So when she tells Granny, and Granny's like, "That's a good idea, so we could sell half of the land and then use the other half for the property. That was a good idea." So outside, you had Jaquita, Jermisha, and Aunt Nikki. And Aunt Nikki peeped that Nicole was inside. She said, Jermisha. She go, "Why Nicole inside talking to Charlotte? What's going on there? What they doing? Just being messy." And she goes, "Oh, I don't know, Aunt Nikki. I don't know what's going on." Jermisha is confused and everything. She goes, "Aunt Nikki, girl, you know what they talking about. You know what they talking about." She goes, "Aunt Nikki, no, I don't know what they're talking about. I don't know." She goes, "Well, let's go inside. Let's go see what they talking about. Come on." Just being messy. And I'm like, "Aunt Nikki, what is you doing?" So they all walk in and ambush them. You just hear, "Oh, what y'all talking about? What y'all talking about?" And so Aunt Nikki goes and sit next to Miss Oscarine, and I say, "Here we go. This is the mess I'm talking about." So Nicole said, "Well, I just had this idea of, the land and what we should do." And immediately Jermisha is taken back because she was like, "This was my idea. Like, why are you, telling me what you're going to do with the land? Because this is supposed to be on me." And Nicole said, "Well, it is on you because I told them that you should manage the idea and the project." And she goes, "Oh, okay, okay." And it turns into like this big ordeal because she was like, "I just want to make sure you weren't overstepping." And they start getting loud. And then Uncle Bubba walk in and they're like, "Yeah, Uncle Bubba, come hear this idea." Just getting more people involved. And it's becoming even more messier. And they're all arguing with each other, going back. And Miss Oscarine is shaking. And she does this clap. And everybody gets quiet. And I'm just looking at Aunt Nikki because she started this, but no one's pointing at her. No one's saying Aunt Nikki did this. But Aunt Nikki was the whole reason why this blew up. Because what Nicole's idea was great as well. Because what that could do, if you're looking at the bigger picture, is Nicole's idea would bring them property to where they're leasing it, but at the same time, wholesaling for the commercial point where there can be a store or a gas station or something conveniently next to the properties to where there could be some commercial there as well. So it's actually a brilliant idea because that brings people in. When they know that there's a grocery store or a restaurant or a gas station, people tend to lease places where there's convenience. So I think Nicole's idea was actually more brilliant than Jermisha's idea, if I'm being honest, because the grandma gets money from the sale and then they still get to do their idea. So it's a win-win for both sides. But yeah, Nikki was definitely the fire starter. But now Granny she's not gonna want to hear it because no one's getting along. You see how that goes? You see what Nikki just started? So now they're gonna have to reel it back and present this idea again. But I think they should go with Nicole's idea. I do. I think that would be brilliant. Mrs. Best, how did you feel about that last scene?
That's a better idea. It also showed that when it comes to her family, Nicole's not going to or is less likely to screw them over. She could have just made it seem like it was her idea, but she came up with a solution that satisfied both sides, as well as still allowing Jermisha to not only lead it, but profit off of it while it's happening. Everybody else has to wait, but as the business manager, she'll get paid the whole time because they said they would give her something, you know, to make in money. But I also agree with you, Jen Bunny. She should have told Jermisha that she was going to do that first, but it also seemed like she didn't know she was going to. I don't think she went there with that intention.
She didn't. She just said, well, I have an idea as well, because y'all remember, Aunt Charlotte is not sold on Jermisha's idea. So Nicole, speaking on Jermisha's behalf, and say, okay, well, if you don't like that idea, here's my idea. I think we should do this with the land. And it was on Nick. See, if Aunt Nikki wouldn't have brought her raggedy ass up in there to begin with, to, make this big mockery of like something going on behind her back, they probably could have found common ground. But that's not how that worked out. And that's why I said Aunt Nikki is messy. I can't do Aunt Nikki. I just can't. Like, there's still time for her to turn me on episode 5. She could turn me around, but I'm not seeing it for Aunt Nikki. I'm just not, because she's messy and she doesn't know her place. And then all of this could have been avoided had she not brought her ass up in that room with Charlotte and Nicole. But yeah, y'all gotta watch that Nikki, y'all. Y'all have to watch her. But that was pretty much the episode. Next week's episode, it's going to be a banger, and I am here for it. Mrs. Best, is there anything you want to add before we let this one go?
I just want Nikki to change her wig and her attitude. That's it.
Well, that's all we have for y'all. But thank you guys for tuning in. We definitely appreciate it. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Please subscribe to both channels, because any recaps or reviews that I don't do on my channel, Mrs. Best does on her channel. We have Basketball Wives, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills is coming up soon. So that will all be on Mrs. Best channel, as well as Loving Hip Hop Atlanta. And I join her on those recaps. So my next recap for my channel will be Love and Marriage Huntsville. We're going to try to see if we can work that out tomorrow. We don't know yet for sure. But yeah, we're going to try to get that worked out. But thank you guys for watching. Make sure you leave a comment. I respond to everyone's comments, whether we agree or disagree. You still get love here on the Watch Your Mouth Reviews channels. Thank you, Mrs. Best. And we're going to have something nice and sweet for y'all coming soon. So make sure you look out for that. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.